Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to work on my Gen 1 Raptor Susia again, and we're going to focus on the interior. We're doing some updates to the center console and upgrading our VHF radio. Hey guys, hello, Keep It Dirty Off-Road. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this channel is all about DIY content as we work on our Raptors and all of our vehicles, and we bring you guys along for the adventures. Now, those who have been following along know we've done a lot of changes to my Gen 1 so that it would work better for me. First interior mod we did is we sound treated the whole interior of the truck to make it a little bit quieter inside and make it a more livable environment. Then we upgraded the whole sound system to include dual amps, a DSP, and vocal speakers all the way around on all the doors. That turned into dual custom seats in the back where we split the bench to accommodate a larger sub. I found a really good deal on a sub on Marketplace, and that turned into split benches. I also did a custom plate to hold all the amps and everything in the back and make it nice and organized. Then I decided to upgrade the center console on the truck. The stock Gen 1 center console is just very inefficient, right? It's got a very poor layout, and it's got some of the worst cup holders in any truck. They don't really hold anything, it just flaps around, and then your only storage is taken up by the control panel. It's a very inefficient design, and I wanted something different. So I went with a law enforcement center console that we ended up cutting up and customizing for me so I can fit all the radios, VHF, intercoms, and switches and everything that I needed in that center console. We also incorporated some Gen 2 cup holders so that we can hold our drinks better on the trails. Now, this setup has worked really good for me over the last year, but not so much for my wife. Yeah, no, you guys know she can never be on camera. And basically what's going on, guys, is this console, while it's great, it doesn't have an armrest. It did come with some armrests, but they're pretty awful. And my wife has existing back injury that she's had for a long time. She needs to properly brace herself while we're taking the truck on long trips or going off-road. Without having an armrest, she wasn't enjoying the truck. And if I wanted to have the whole family coming along on some journeys every once in a while, I needed to add an armrest. Now, I could have just jumped on CAD just like I did last time and design a bunch of plates and all that stuff to find something that worked. But last time I did that, it took me actually quite a few days and a bunch of YouTube videos to figure out how to use the software. And then after I got all the laser cut pieces and everything done, I completely lost all that knowledge and then would have to start again from scratch. So I decided to hire an expert fabricator and designer that could do it much faster than I could and already had the experience. Of course, that meant reaching out to one of the best fabricators we know, Richard at Grow Fabrics. Richard made it super easy. I let him know exactly what I wanted. He took some measurements, took some 3D scans at the back of the truck, and within a few days, Richard already had the part designed, fabricated, and ready for a test fit. He sent me some pics of it ahead of time, and I was already super excited for what I was getting, and it was exactly what I was looking for. So excited that I took a quick trip to his shop just so I could take a look at it. We could do a very quick mock-up, see how it fit. And I mean, he ticked all the boxes, right? It had dual vent slots so that I can get air back there for the kids. It had space for a 12-volt outlet back there to power anything. It had a removable top plate so I can do my own custom foam pad for my wife to get it as soft as she needed it or as thick as she needed it. And it matched all the lines of the truck, the stock setup and everything, so I can have the maximum space. I mean, it even matched the floor lines at the bottom, right? That little hump that's right there. Now, all that was left to do was for him to finish all the welds, get that sides completely welded up and blended, and then we just had to schedule some time to come in and do a proper installation of the part. Now, before we actually did the installation, I wanted to make sure I used the time wisely. You know, Richard's time is very valuable, so I didn't want to waste any of his time. So we tore down the interior, took out the passenger seat, tore apart the center console to get everything out of the way so that we can do the installation as efficiently as possible in his shop. Now, before we can actually install the console, we had to figure out how to run air to those air vents in the back. This is the stock air vent tube, and it's this really long piece of plastic, and we really couldn't use this anymore, right? I mean, like this little hump right here, that right there was designed to fit the amp underneath it, and in order to reuse this, we'd have to cut the hell out of it, glue it back together. It just wasn't worth the effort. Richard actually came up with an ingenious idea here. Rather than using all those old parts, we would use air pumper hoses typically used in the off-road industry because they were flexible and small enough to fit under the center console and allow us to ride them wherever we needed them. And then he would 3D print some adapter pieces, one at the front of the truck to be able to go from that single outlet down to 2 hoses. And then rings for the rear vents to allow them to connect. And then we would use foam to complete that connection and make it more of a friction connection. So very similar to stock, but with aftermarket components. Ingenious. Now that all the vent lines were in place, we could finally test fit the armrest and get it all secured. The vent tubes would end up getting routed around the sides of the amp. Console wrapped around everything just perfectly. It was notched perfectly to fit over that hump in the back of the truck. And then everything lined up perfectly with the stock holes in my console. It made it so that all we had to do was drill one hole to get the whole thing to connect it. Everything else, we could reuse the holes that were already there. And it just, the level of precision I got from Richard at Grove Fabrics was just impressive for this tiny little project. Everything came up perfect, but we weren't done. We weren't done yet. The plan was to get the whole armrest upholstered and try to match the stock interior in some way or another. And we ended up getting a hold of Todd at Explorator Upholstery to help us out here. And yes, I know guys, some of you guys are looking at those really pretty welds that were blended in the back. It really sucked covering those up because the quality work that I got from Richard was just impressive. But we wanted to have this kind of clean OEM style look, and that means going over to Expert. Also, being we're in Southern California, the desert heat out here gets pretty bad, and bare metal and your arm with regular skin don't mix. So we headed over to Expert Auto Upholstery with the center console and some scraps of leather from when we cut up the seats so that he can match the leather as close as possible. I gave Todd full liberty to do whatever he wanted. The only suggestion was if there's a way we can incorporate the red a little bit on the armrest somehow, you know, just to kind of match the truck's interior a little bit better. But honestly, I trusted him to make it just look cool. I mean, just based on the experiences and some of the builds I've seen from him in the last couple of years, right? We initially met Todd when my wife wanted to get flat seats in one of her cars, and he's local to us and he did a killer job with that setup. And then since then I've seen a few of his pre-runners, including the A10 pre-runner that we featured on this channel, with just some of the coolest interiors I've seen. So highly recommend him. He is probably the best in the business for pre-runner interiors right now, and as typical with him, he did not disappoint. Within a few days, the armrest and everything was ready, and I rushed over to pick it up. Once again, guys, I was totally blown away by the work. He ended up doing the back of the center console in leather, the sides in suede. He matched the red stitching of the truck into all the corners of it. It looks so good. I mean, if you didn't know any better, guys, you would think it was OEM work. It was that good. But the cherry on top is what he ended up doing with the armrest. Remember, I asked him to incorporate a little bit of red, and he ended up giving me a little racing stripe over the top that was just perfection. It looks so good in here, guys. I mean, I cannot tell you guys enough how good this came out. And I was happy. I was so happy. Once again, customizing this truck to exactly how I wanted it. Now, I do want to take a moment here to really thank Richard at Grove Fabrics and Todd at Expert Auto Upholstery. They both understood my vision for the interior and the mods that I wanted to do to this truck, and they were both very supportive and took time out of their busy schedules to help me meet that goal. I'll forever be grateful for their help on these, these small little projects to basically make my dream build come true, right? I can't afford to do this stuff all at once. I have to stage it out. And these guys have gone out of their way to help me out. And I'm very, very grateful. And I hope you guys support them too, because they're doing this to everybody out there, right? They're very supportive. No job is too small for them. So definitely get a hold of Richard. Go to his website. Richard's got a ton of Gen 1 accessories. He's got off-road accessories, jack mounts, and it's all reasonably priced. He's also a really great fabricator, so if you need any kind of custom work, please get a hold of him. You won't be disappointed. He's one of the best that I've met in the industry. And then same thing with Todd at Auto Upholstery. I've worked with a few auto upholstery shops over the years, and the quality that you get from Todd is top notch, man. I've seen some of his pre-runner builds. They're beautiful. Highly recommend you reach out to him for all your interior upholstery needs, and not just your old trucks, guys. We know how some of the new trucks, Ford skimped out on the trim pieces. There's a lot of plastic on the new trucks. They can help out with new, old, it doesn't matter. They can help out with repairs. Todd, good shop. So again, please support the guys that have been helping me, Richard and Todd, Grove Fabrics and Expert Auto Upholstery. Great shops, guys. Highly, highly recommend them. Now that everything's all fabricated and ready to go, now it's time to install. Okay, now to start the install, we actually have to take the top off in order to access everything we need to access. So, all right, let's go take that inside. How's it feel?
Much better. It's not a heated armrest, but I guess.
Oh my God. Get heated armrest. You're not getting a heated armrest.
Why the f I have, you know, the X7.
I should have asked him. Has he ever gotten a request for a heated armrest? I bet you he hasn't.
You know, the X7 has a heated armrest.
Oh my God, Jenny.
Come on.
Well, when I redo the whole interior and we wrap this all in suede and all that stuff, I'll ask him to put a heated element in there.
Just my side. I don't care about you.
God damn it, you suck, Jen.
If you want me to go off-roading, I need amenities.
Don't hurt yourself, huh?
I know. It hurts. It's a very big word.
Came out good. Came out really good.
Yeah, I suppose it'll do. It's better than you bringing in a fucking pillow.
Doesn't it look good, though, with the little racing stripe?
I don't really give a shit about the racing stripe. I just wanted somewhere to put my arm. You know, there's nothing
I think
like
the first option would have been
your
cheaper.
Arm just hanging, you know, doing its thing.
I think your first option would have been cheaper, grabbing an old pillow and duct tape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know what would have been very cheaper? If he didn't do it at all.
Oh my God. If we had just took all the money we invested in this and put it in Legos.
And then you would just, you know,
I hate you.
you should just buy stock in Lego at that point.
I hate
You
you
should have married me then if you hated me.
I know, right?
Is it, you just married me for the money, right?
Let's go give this a test drive, see
For
how
the
it turns
VA
out.
disability, that's what you wanted, right?
Oh my God. We talked about this. I'd rather have a fully functional wife than a disabled
I
one.
am fully functional.
Hey, but now you get to park in a handicap.
Yeah, now you get to park in handicap, and I am broken. The military says so.
Yeah, mentally and physically.
Yes.
This is what I have to deal with.
Yeah.
That asshole and her.
Hey.
All right.
Hey.
Oh.
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 Oh, you're pushing buttons.
Oh.
Not mine. You're pushing hers.
Yeah. I mean, you can afford all this because of me too. You know this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Venting on camera. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Start a vlog channel.
Let's do some marriage counseling.
We need therapy.
Therapy. Family therapy. The therapist would
All right,
quit.
let's go give this a test drive. That's enough of this.
Bullshit.
And I don't mean just go test it out around the blocks. We had to go off-road and test this out with my wife to make sure that this was gonna work for her. Because again, I'm worried about her back, I'm worried about her comfort in the truck, and we had to go do some trails out in Cal City to really see how it was, right? To do a mix of fast and rough trails. I'm happy to report, guys, she was able to stabilize herself pretty good, which is a huge win. To have somebody with a back injury that's always in pain, to do something for her so that she's not in pain all the time, it's pretty rewarding. Now, since the console was already opened up and everything, this was also the perfect time to do upgrades to my center console. So I took this opportunity to upgrade the radio in my truck, my VHF radio. I ended up getting this PCI 110 watt Kenwood radio. Now, this radio is not for everybody. It's really for those that are leading run. You guys are well served with the 50 watt. You don't need 110 watt. I wanted a more powerful radio because I'm usually leading groups, right? I'm setting up runs all the time. I'm usually at the front, and I wanted to have my, my signal, the call outs to keep everybody safe, to go a little bit further, and 110 watt radio will give me that capability. Again, I don't recommend this for you guys. This radio is actually not for everybody, not just because of the cost, but look at the size of the thing. It's huge. I actually struggled with trying to find a spot to put this in. My initial thought was to put it in the center console, but it was so big that I would lose the location of my upfitter switches. And I really like the position of my upfitter switches. I can actually, reach over to them and be able to turn on lights off and off by touch without having to look over, which is a big plus for me to be able to keep my eyes on the road. And just like everything else, as soon as you can't put it in this original spot, right, the intended spot, projects tend to snowball. I couldn't install it under the seat, again, because of its size. It would limit the seat's ability to go up and down. But also, I didn't want to have a heater vent blowing on it during the winter. This thing needs to have the capability to cool off. I also couldn't install it behind the seats because I have all my amps and everything back there, and all that space was full. I had to speed up the process and replace my giant subwoofer box. For those that followed, you guys remember I had this giant box here, full cal 12-inch. Full cal 12 is still there, but that giant box was really good, and I was actually dreading going down to a smaller box because smaller box may not sound as good. Going down to a smaller box gave me the room to mount the amp, and I don't know, I kind of like the idea of showing off the amp a little bit. I think it looks good, right? It's kind of like an industrial look. It came out looking good. This also makes it a little bit more comfortable with the kids. The old amp, they were kind of cramped in here and all that stuff, right? It was a little bit wider. This one's a little bit, you know, it's a little bit narrower and serves as an armrest, and they can put stuff in here too because of this little lip. It just kind of holds everything. So it ended up working out. Did this change the performance of my audio a little bit? It doesn't sound as good in this one, but by doing it in this spot, it made it easier to run all the cables. I already had an extra power port in the back because I planned ahead. I always make sure that I have extra, so I had extra power ports. So integrating into power was much easier, and it was directly connected to the battery. And you know, we ended up getting this. This is just a no-name box. We ended up getting this from my local shop. Nothing special, cheap box. I may replace this in the future because this doesn't sound good. It really doesn't sound as good. Now, to finish off the installation, I had Richard at Grow Fabrics make me some little rack ears so I can mount the radio up front in the console, and then I ran all my cables before I put the interior back together. And just like that, armrest is done. I should say almost done, because it's not done, right? Just like when I first set up the console, I still have a lot of bare metal and all that stuff because I really want to try this out and make sure that everything works for me before I do a full powder coat. But once I'm comfortable with it, once everything is good, I'm going to rip it all out again and get all the center console and all the custom plates stripped and powder coated so that it looks perfectly nice. All right, guys, that's it for this video. Please make sure you guys go support these companies that helped me make this project come true. It's Richard at Grow Fabrics. Make sure you check him out. He's got a lot of cool Gen 1 parts, and he makes a lot of off-road stuff for custom fabrication. And then don't forget to check out Expert Auto Upholstery. Todd there does some of the best interiors. He can help with repairs or just doing a full custom bespoke interior if you're doing a pre-runner or whatever your needs are. Both are great companies, excellent fabricators, and they're best at their craft. Highly recommend both of them. I hope this video inspires you guys, some of you guys out there, to do your own custom projects. Don't follow the crowd when it comes to doing your trucks, guys. Be unique. Do something different. Don't do what everybody else is doing. Try something different. Try something that works specifically for you, and you'll be that much happier. Questions and comments below. Please consider subscribing, and thank you for watching.